Good afternoon. My name is Chris Adam with Youth Pledge for Employers, and I'm delighted to be joined by Thomas Rushton, an Employment Engagement Manager from Nova Training. Hello there, Tom.
Hi, how are you, Chris? You okay?
Yes, not too bad. Thank you. Thank you for giving up your time this afternoon. I know we were just chatting about how busy we both are, so a big thanks for that. So I guess my start of 10 question really has to be: can you tell us a little bit about Nova Training and what it is that you do there?
So here at Norfolk Training, we deliver a vast amount of programs for individuals starting from 14, preschool, and to apprenticeship. So we run programs such as pre-apprenticeship programs. So these are for individuals who may not be sure of what they want to do or need an additional support in maths and English, a number of things that basically somebody who's unsure at that point of where they see themselves fit. And what that program does, it sort of allows them to try different areas, different work experiences within that, and other areas really in regards to what that individual might aspire to be one day. And the other side is apprenticeships, where we deliver programs where it's based at the work placement, and our specialists go in and deliver the theoretical side of each program. That's in short.
Thank you. I appreciate it's always difficult to give in a nutshell answer, so I appreciate that. And I'll come back to you and speak to you later on a little about the current opportunities you've got on offer. If we could just if you could give me sort of an overview, what kind of different roles are there sort of within Nova Training sort of to keep it up for its business as usual day-to-day operations?
So obviously your backbone is your administration and your customer service. Then it sort of goes on to your teaching. So we have tutors, we have specialists within areas, so motor vehicle coaches or business admin coaches for the apprenticeships. We have recruitment to support individuals into jobs within the apprenticeship department. We also have careers, so individuals who specifically work with the learners to get them into the right placements. And then we have individuals who work with the employers to find them the right learners. Then we have sort of the digital apprenticeship service sort of managers who look after the employers side of things for their levy accounts, which we also manage for them. Then obviously we go into management, so like myself, an employment engagement manager who manages a section, and for myself it's the recruitment, so head of all employer engagement within apprenticeships, that comes under myself. And then higher we've got the operations managers, and then obviously up to the director.
Brilliant, thank you. And again, like the previous question, I know it's not easy to summarize a company hierarchy and just a short answer, but thank you for giving, as you say, like an idea of sort of the backbone of the business and the other experts and people you work with. And a sort of a common theme that comes to me sort of across all of those people, no matter what their role is. And I guess feel free to sort of explain this more to me, maybe about the company ethos, but it sounds like everyone there needs to be a good communicator and they need to want to better others. Would you say that's consistent across the company?
So each individual, when they're hired for Nova Training, it's very much on the purpose of, can this individual support Nova's vision of supporting young people and young adults? So each individual within Nova is trained on information, advice and guidance and how to support learning disabilities or additional needs. So it's very much the ethos of Nova to make sure that everybody can be supported and get to where they want to be, whether that's career or education.
Brilliant. No, thank you. I was saying again, I don't want to say this for every question, but I know it's not easy to summarize what it takes to work with an organization, but you've done a great job of that there. And so, as I say, sort of broadly speaking, you sort of mentioned about some of the things you're looking for someone to come and work for Nova Training there. So let's imagine maybe you had two CVs in front of you for maybe sort of two young people who maybe had the same amount of experience. If we're looking at, say, their hobbies, their pastimes, how they talk about themselves, speak on behalf of you as an employer, what kind of things are you looking for there that you think, what, those things there to us showed us that you've got the potential or some of the core skills already to fit in and work well here?
Yeah, so mainly for my team, it's having a bit of confidence. I've got to have somebody who sort of, if they're not so confident, it's something again that I'm happy to teach and learn on, because you might have somebody who doesn't feel confident at the time, but within 3 or 4 months, they're absolutely confident. So it's sort of finding the core values of somebody, and somebody who wants to work hard. I think that's the hardest thing that a lot of employers are facing, is somebody might come in with the correct grades or the correct experience. It's the work ethic of somebody that employers are really screaming for, is getting those individuals who really want to get their hands and ready and get working towards their goals. And having that work ethic is key within any business. Ideally, obviously, I'm in the education industry, so we always do come back to maths and English, and that never sort of goes away for anybody who works in education. So they would have to have an entry type of qualifications within maths and English. And as a training provider, we sort of practice what we preach. So anybody who is employed, we give them maths and English at level 2 functional skill, if that's not already acquired by themselves.
Brilliant, thank you. No, and that's really interesting, as I say, to know the employer side is to say sort of what the requirements are, but what those extra things are, because sometimes, and I work with a lot of young people on a daily basis. Sometimes young people will be like, okay, I'm working towards my functional skills, or I'm trying to get this experience, but as I say, sometimes it's those other areas where maybe maybe they're doing lots of things that show that they're confident and a good communicator, but maybe they don't put those down on their their CV or applications because they don't think they're relevant, whereas you've just testified to how relevant they are.
They are very relevant, especially within the apprenticeship world and employment world. Going straight into employment, we work with an abundance of employers across each year, and they always, I'd probably say 95% ask for entry requirements, whether that be full-time or an apprentice. So it always comes back to English more so than maths, but maths and English is always a question on employers.
No, brilliant, thank you. And just to move on to my next question, I will straight away sort of say this in advance. I know there's no such thing as a typical day. Okay, I'm going to throw that right out there. I'm very well aware of that. But if we had to look at your role specifically, and you had to sort of summarize, what could happen on a typical day, and what are the, how to put it, what are the good days like in your job, and and what are the bad days like, if you see what I mean? How would you summarize that?
Okay, so being a manager, I'd say 60% of my time is meetings, pre-book meetings. So most days I'm already sort of got a 9 till 5 bookings. In regards to in between those meeting slots, it could be dealing with my team, any issues that they've faced. Obviously, we do work within an education, so we have got the pre-apprenticeship next door. So I'm also a first aider. So if any incidents happen next door, I could be rushed in to support. Working with the team, so if any issues with learners or employers that they're facing, I'd be sort of their main advisory on solving that issue. Good days would be, for me, it's always telling a learner that they're successful at an interview, and telling a learner that from their apprenticeship they've now gained full-time employment. I think that's something that I always try and hear every day. That's probably the nicer part of my role. And the worst days it's the unsuccessfuls. Telling a learner that they've been unsuccessful for interview. However, what we do here, and what I do specifically, is when we do get an unsuccessful, I get that learner some formal feedback, not just that another learner had slightly more experience. I do actually want, how was your appearance? Was there on time? I do get some sort of formal feedback so that their next interview, they're more prepared. Because a lot of learners now aren't prepared for interview with COVID and how that impacted the face-to-face interaction. So I'm well aware of the economic that we're in, and I think we've got to be flexible with that, with young individuals going into maybe their first interview. So it's supporting that fact.
Brilliant, thank you. And if any young person watching this video now sort of has liked the idea of anything you've spoken about, and they now want to engage with Nova Training, sort of if they want to engage with you and look at the opportunities you've got available, sort of what opportunities would you like to promote to them now?
Okay, so we've got an abundance of opportunities. We have over, I believe it's 115 live apprenticeship vacancies as it stands. We have 15 traineeship opportunities available. We have 20 internal vacancies at Nova Training, and those positions are vast from recruitment to teaching staff to administration staff. So there's an abundance of opportunities there. We have a lot of, within the area, we do have quite large employers looking for motor vehicle individuals, business admin individuals, and customer service at the moment. I think that's probably the biggest uptake we're looking for at the moment within your areas. So that's probably that's probably most of the opportunities available.
No, thank you for that. And my final question, really, and I've asked this to all the sort of employers I've had these employee talks with, is that, I say you've sort of summarised just a little bit about, your role and, as I say, where you are sort of in your career journey. But let's imagine you could go back and speak to, say, let's say 17-year-old Thomas, as I say, whether you want to talk to him or not, taking into account, say, the sort of, the roles you've had, the experiences you've got, the successes you've had, the mistakes you might have made. If you could give one piece of career advice to, 17-year-old you, what would it be?
That's a good question. I'd probably say, I'd probably say persistence is key. Is to focus on your goal and don't give up on where you want to get to. I started off as an apprentice myself within recruitment of apprentices, so I was sort of got straight into this side of the apprenticeships as soon as I left school. So it was very, I've sort of been on that path ever since, and I've been doing this role for about 10 years now. So if it was anything, I would say persistence and keep going, because there are people out there like myself who have been successful when you strive towards one goal and one achievement. So persistence is what I would say.